The forest had always been a place I loved from afar, from a highway, from a window, from anywhere that had cell signal and noise. But now, as the caravan rolled deeper into the trees, I realized how easily silence could feel like a trap. The road narrowed until branches brushed against the windows, scratching lightly like fingertips against glass. I slowed down, following a dirt path that was barely visible through the moss and leaves. The GPS had given up an hour ago. It didn't matter. I wanted to be lost for a while. By the time I found the clearing, the sun had already sunk low enough to stain the air in amber and shadow. I parked, turned off the engine, and just listened. Wind, my own breath, nothing else. The kind of quiet that made your heartbeat sound too loud. I stepped outside, stretched, felt the air wrap around me. It smelled like damp earth and pine. For the first time in weeks, I felt like I could breathe. I built a small fire, made coffee, and watched the flames draw color back into the world. That first night, I slept with the windows cracked open, listening to the trees. It was peaceful. The faint creak of branches, a distant owl, the soft tapping of rain that came and went. I dreamed about the sea, though I hadn't seen it in years. When I woke up, sunlight filtered through the curtains like pale gold. For a moment, I thought maybe this was what peace really was. Not the absence of noise, but the presence of stillness. The second night wasn't much different. I spent the day reading, writing, walking through the trees. I found an old signpost half buried in moss, its paint long gone, letters erased by time. I didn't think much of it then. That night after dinner, I sat by the small window with my notebook. The forest had gone dark fast, almost too fast. The stars were smothered by thick clouds. I turned off the lantern to look outside and saw only my reflection, pale, vague, slightly distorted by the glass. Then I heard it, a faint tap. It was so soft that for a moment I thought I imagined it. Probably a twig or a moth hitting the pane. I waited. Silence. Then again, tap. A pause. Another. Slow, almost hesitant. Like someone trying to get my attention, I froze. Every sound in me stopped. The air in the caravan felt heavy. My skin prickled. I got up, flicked on the light, and looked out the window. Nothing. Just darkness pressing close. I slept with the lantern on that night. Morning came late, gray, and damp. I found nothing outside, no footprints, no marks, nothing disturbed. I told myself I was overreacting, that isolation was making me jumpy. People romanticize solitude, but they never talk about how loud it becomes when you're truly alone. Every creak, every shift in the air feels personal, like the world is whispering only to you. The third night, it started again. Not a tap this time. A faint scrape near the back of the caravan, metal against metal. I stopped breathing. The sound moved, slow, deliberate, tracing along the side. My eyes followed the noise, imagining the path of invisible fingers sliding along the thin wall. Then, silence. I waited, not daring to move, until finally I heard a single step outside, the squelch of a shoe pressing into wet soil. I counted to 30 before turning on the light. Nothing. Just fog pressed against the glass. When morning came, there was a print in the mud. Barely there, but human. Not mine. I packed my bag that afternoon, telling myself I'd leave in the morning. The idea of driving in the dark made my stomach twist. That night, the forest was dead quiet. No wind, no insects. Even the fire refused to catch properly. its smoke curling low and sickly around the clearing. I ate a cold meal, locked every door, double-checked the windows. I didn't read, didn't move, just sat in the dark, listening. Somewhere around midnight, I heard breathing. Not loud, not close, just steady, patient, outside the door. I held my breath, waiting for it to stop. It didn't. Whoever it was, they weren't moving. They were just there, listening. The sound lasted maybe a minute, maybe 10. I couldn't tell anymore. When it finally faded, my legs were trembling so badly I had to hold on to the counter to stand. I stayed awake until dawn, staring at the door. The next morning, I found a cigarette butt near the fire pit. It wasn't there before. It was still dry. Someone had been there while I hid inside, watching. I packed faster than I ever had in my life, throwing everything into bags. When I tried to start the engine, it sputtered once, twice, then died. I tried again. Nothing. My hands shook as I stepped out to check the tank. The gas cap was open. Not gone, not broken, just open, like someone had touched it. I stayed outside just long enough to close it, then went back in and locked the door. The rest of the day passed in a haze of waiting. I thought about walking to the main road, but I didn't even know which direction it was anymore. The forest around me felt endless. Every sound, a branch falling, a bird taking off, made me jump. When the light started to fade, I stopped moving altogether. I sat near the driver's seat, clutching the keys, listening to the wind that wasn't there. Sometime during the night, the Caravan shuddered. Just once, but enough to make the cups rattle in their holders. Then came the faintest sound of fingers brushing against the door, slow, testing, a quiet pressure against the handle. I wanted to scream, but I couldn't. My throat was dry, my chest locked. I held the keys like a weapon, even though I knew it was useless. The handle moved once more, just a twitch, and then everything stopped. The silence was worse than the noise. When dawn finally came, I didn't wait. I turned the key, and this time the engine caught. Relief flooded through me so violently I almost sobbed. I didn't pack properly. I didn't even check the road. I just drove. Mud sprayed from the tires as I lurched out of the clearing. Branches clawed at the sides, the forest closing behind me like a living thing. I drove until the trees began to thin, until the fog broke and the road became clear again. The further I got, the lighter I felt. The sound of the engine, the vibration under my feet, it all felt like safety, like distance. I could finally breathe again. My eyes burned with exhaustion, but my chest eased for the first time in days. I didn't look back, didn't dare. Whatever was behind me could stay buried in that forest. About 10 minutes later, I saw the first glimpse of sunlight breaking through the clouds. It looked warm, golden, impossibly alive. I laughed, a dry, broken sound, but it was laughter all the same. I whispered to myself, "You made it. You're safe." Then something shifted behind me. It was small at first, barely a sound. A soft scrape like fabric dragging along metal. My laughter stopped. I stared straight ahead, eyes on the road. Maybe something fell, a bag, a pan. I didn't turn around, but the sound came again. Slow, measured, too deliberate to be random. The air inside the Caravan changed. It thickened, like the space itself had grown smaller. I could hear my own pulse again, loud and steady in my ears. The tires hummed against the dirt road, but beneath it was something else. Faint, rhythmic. Steps, one, pause, another. I gripped the steering wheel harder. My fingers were white. The curtain at the back swayed slightly. There was no wind inside the caravan. A breath followed. Not mine. Slow, drawn out, close. The kind of sound that doesn't belong in an empty space. That's when I remembered. In my panic to start the engine, I hadn't locked the door. The realization spread through me like ice. My throat tightened. I didn't move, didn't turn. My reflection stared back faintly from the windshield, pale, hollow-eyed. For a long time, nothing happened. The forest outside passed in streaks of green and gray. Then, very quietly, there was the sound of fabric shifting again. Closer now. I kept driving. There was nothing else to do. The sun broke through the clouds fully then, bright and clean and alive. And for one horrible moment, it felt like mockery. I pressed my foot down on the gas, heart pounding, breath shallow.